1872. We were barely out of slavery. In fact, it was 1863 that the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect. A lot of us don't know our history. That's why we repeat mistakes. If you don't know where you come from, you won't know where you're going. You know, I was explaining to some young folk, Ray, that Lincoln announced in 1862 that he was going to sign the Emancipation Proclamation. Signed it, and in the proclamation they said January 1st, 1863, the slaves would be free. And they waited because they'd been promised freedom for so many times and were disappointed, and they waited. And watch night service originated because they were waiting for midnight to strike so they could walk off the plantation. A lot of folk don't understand why other folk don't have watch night service, because they didn't have nothing to watch for. We have watch night service because that's the strike of midnight. We were technically and legally free. But we don't even talk about that in our watch night services anymore. So our children have no idea where we come from. But to think that just a few years, 9 years after the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect, they formed this convention. And they formed it at a time of Reconstruction. Went from Reconstruction through the period of terrorism, where they tried to take back everything. Plessy versus Ferguson and all the way through the 20th century. And who would have thought in 1872, when you installed Marvin Mercer, there would be a black president of the United States of America? It is only a God could bring people in that span of time so far. But then when you look at that and see how we have handled it, it ought to make some of us ashamed of our behavior. When you think about it, as you sit here at the Tennessee Baptist Education Missionary Convention, and think about those that founded had lived where they were property, where they had no rights anyone was bound to respect, where it was against the law for them to even name their children after them, were not allowed to marry. And here you are with a black president and a black attorney general, and somebody got to beg you to go vote. We got so much more than those we come behind and do such little with. I was talking to Doc here, who was one of the pioneers of the movement, and he can tell you, Dr. King and that generation, they changed America and never had a cell phone. Didn't even have a fax machine. Here you are with laptops in every room, BlackBerry in one pocket, cell phone in the next, Facebook, Twitter, got all kind of ways to communicate. And can't get 5 Negroes together to do nothing.
What you say?
We have so much more and do so little with it. It's like the children of Israel, once God delivered them, once God had put the plagues on Pharaoh and got Pharaoh to let the children go, the children wouldn't let Pharaoh go. And many of us have that in the wilderness, with a wilderness psychologist still with Pharaoh in mind. I told Ray a couple of years ago at his church, We started in National Action Network, our civil rights group, we started with NAACP to bury the N-word. And I never will forget we come out with it, and some of my friends in hip-hop got angry. Said, well, I don't care what you say, Reverend Al, I'm going to say what I want. We have freedom of speech. I said, no, you don't. Yes, we do. We say what we want. I said, no. If you go in the studio and record any music that denounces anybody other than us, they won't put it out.
All right, amen.
And they should. If they make an anti-Irish song or rap, they won't put it out. Hate speech, and it is. Anti-Italian hate speech, and it is. Anti-Catholic hate speech, and it is. Anti-Jewish hate speech, and it is. Call blacks niggas free speech. I mean, you can't be that stupid.
That's right.
That the only one you can degrade is us. But when you got a wilderness psychology, you desecrate yourself.
That's right.
And insult the God that made you. I remember the one night we had a big debate on TV about it. One of